We are back on air with another installment of the Bethany Sports Beat, and to finish out the winter season, we're going to talk about some women's basketball at this point. Lyle joins us for this installment. Again, Don Westphal here, the Director of Athletics. Coach Jones back in the saddle for the first time after about a decade out this past year. Got the first season under your belt. What for you, how long did it take for that in-game, that timeouts and substitutions, how long did it for you to get into that role right away? Right away first game, were you there, or did it take a little time?
I think the first game we were there. The part that did take a little time was the management with the NCAA rules and all those booklets and so forth, is to make sure you're not making violations and so forth. That was the biggest problem.
That makes me happy, by the way. We're all for that. That's good. Yeah.
But the transition from the coaching, it was pretty seamless.
All right, and so your first year is in. 500 in the conference, one game away from reaching the conference tournament. You haven't spent any time going back to a certain game here or there, because you had a few games. As the season went on, you quickly became one of the teams no one wanted to play at the end of the season, and you pulled off, especially against some of the top teams in the conference, you were very close to pulling off some upsets, and maybe with a little more seasoning you'd have been there.
We did, and I think some teams were thinking that. I know at least we had 4 games with 4 minutes to go. We were ahead. And the transition there was whether getting our girls with their skill sets, learning those, and trying to fit them into our philosophy. That was kind of the problem. I think we had a little more time, like you said. Those 4 games probably would have went the other way, and instead of finishing 5th, we might have been 2nd.
And is that to some degree, do you have to learn how to close those games where you hit that big shot, you get that big defensive stop? That's to some degree, it doesn't just happen haphazardly. That's kind of a learned thing about how to, especially against upper echelon teams.
Absolutely, and our girls were so selfless that they were willing to pass the ball around and really not look for shots, and we were basically trying to instill in them to take your shots, because you can do this. And that's part of the situation towards the end of the game. Everyone was looking at someone else to finish it, and that's something that we'll have that rectified for this next year.
Now, you mentioned players who kind of stepped up and looked for at the end of the game. Obviously, if you look at the statistics and look at some of the postseason honors, Bree Branch from St. James had just a fantastic season for you, among tops in the conference in most of the categories. She must have been a pretty pleasant surprise to come in and just be able to see her progress as the season went on. And
she did, Don. She progressed very well. At the beginning of the season, we were a little worried. And then she started getting double-doubles, and she also, just the whole leadership aspect of her in practice, and then it flowed over into the games, was just phenomenal. And she has a motor that never stops, and just a great player, and so we're looking forward to having her back next year.
And really, for the most part, you get everybody back on the roster. There's a little bit with graduation and maybe others looking at other options, but most of the team comes back, which is a great starting point, because obviously that's a group who a year ago didn't know about you and your system. They have that now, and that's a great place to start from.
It's a great place to start. The only bad thing is we had 2 girls, one blew her ACL out, the other the MCL, and they were girls that just came off the bench. They were the 6th and 7th players, and they were right in line with chewing up some major playing time when they did get in. So that's kind of a setback, so we're hoping to see how they progress over the summer with their therapy. We think they'll be there for us, though.
This is the point of the season. Obviously, recruiting becomes a big name of the game, and you were used to that years ago from the junior college perspective, but obviously all the NCAA jargon aside, with all the recruiting rules and stuff like that, how have you enjoyed the process of being back out there and watching the high school games and interacting with high school athletes to try to encourage them to give Bethany consideration?
Well, it's not different. It's just it's something you have to do, and it was kind of fun to get back out there and just the camaraderie with the coaches in the area and getting to know the new ones. And just seeing all the players was just awesome. We had a great group of assistant coaches that also went out. When I couldn't get out, we're out there this year seeing almost every team in our area, if not in the cities or above the cities. And so that process it went really well for us this year. I was really pleased with how that went.
So skill level aside, major aside, because those are parts of it, cost, all that works in, but strictly from the standpoint of playing basketball for Coach Lyle Jones, what are you looking at in an athlete? What are you looking for, some of those intangible qualities?
Well, I think every coach is looking for bigger, stronger, faster,
Okay.
which we are too. But some of the intangibles that we look for and what we've been recruiting this year is someone who is just willing to go to the wall, to the edge, and just to play hard and get out of their comfort zone and really get after it. And then after the season, to continue on with that and just get better in their skill sets for the following year. And of course, you look at the leadership and those types of things, but when we look for speed and then that intangible of that heart, and do they have a motor on them that they just want to go. And I think this next year, the players that we've recruited are going to fit our philosophy mode or better, and we'll be able to run our type of philosophy this next year much better than we did this year.
Definitely one of the teams to be looking out for next year in the UMAC Conference, the Bethany Lutheran College women's basketball team. The Vikings, one of those teams that should factor into conference tournament play next year. So the bar set high. We wish you the best of luck getting there. And again, Lyle Jones, we thank you for joining us for this installment of the Bethany Sports Beat.